There's three main types of rolls in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. These are ability checks, attacks, and saving throws. Your success or failure when making any of these rolls depends on exceeding or meeting a certain number total. We'll dig more into the details later for each one, but for now, here's an overview just so you have a general idea of how each one works. Attack rolls are measured against AC, otherwise known as armor class, which is something all creatures have. Armor class represents a creature's ability to block, dodge, or simply absorb damage. Saving throws are measured against the DC or difficulty class of the effect that causes it, such as some spells or traps. Ability checks are often measured against an ambiguous number that your dungeon master thinks of in their head, so you might want to be careful next time you're making fun of one of their NPC names. If you haven't watched my video on abilities and modifiers yet, I would recommend watching that first before going forward with this one. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into today's video. We're starting today off with a surprise topic, proficiency. Proficiency is a bonus modifier that you add to your ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws. The bonus amount is determined by your character level, as shown here. Some class features, like the Rogue's Expertise, allow you to double your proficiency bonus. Same thing for Bards too. The reason we're starting with this surprise is to better explain how your character skills work. Speaking of which, here's a natural segue into that next topic.
I don't know what you want, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
So what exactly are skills? Chapter 7 in the Player's Handbook sums it up best. A skill represents a specific aspect of an ability score. In other words, if you have a high score in a certain ability, the skills related to that ability are also going to be naturally higher because of it. And skills that have proficiency are even better, because that's what your character is focusing on. Here's an example. Let's say we're making a character. We'll call this character, Zugzug. Zugzug has a strength ability score of 18, giving him an ability score modifier of +4. This modifier directly impacts the athletic skill, which is tied to the strength ability. If Zugzug chooses to have proficiency in athletics, then he would also receive a +2 from his level 1 proficiency bonus. This leaves him with a total athletics modifier of +6. Let's take a look at what types of skills there are, that way you can get a better idea of what might fit your character. Strength contributes to athletics. Dexterity contributes to acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth. Intelligence contributes to arcana, history, investigation, nature, and religion. Wisdom contributes to animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, and survival. And charisma contributes to deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. Let's go back to our example. Let's say Zugzug told the Dungeon Master that he wanted to break down a door. The Dungeon Master would then ask for Zugzug to make a strength ability check. In this case, it would be an athletics check. Zugzug would roll a d20 and add his athletics modifier of +6 to the result rolled. That total number would then have to either equal or exceed the difficulty class, or DC, number that the Dungeon Master assigns for that particular scenario. Remember, this goes back to that number they create in their head, so once again, don't make fun of any of their character names. And that number that the DM does make up in their head does change based on the situation at hand. For example, if Zugzug was trying to break down a rotting wooden door, well then the difficulty class for that would be fairly low. However, if he was trying to break in an iron door, then that would be reasonably high. So how does your character obtain a particular set of skills? All skills are available for your character to make ability checks with, unless told otherwise by the Dungeon Master. However, during character creation, you decide what skills they are proficient in depending on things like your class and your background. Looking at our boy Zugzug again, we can see that his ability score modifiers are directly impacting the modifiers of their related skills. Since Zugzug is a half-orc, his racial bonuses give him an ability score increase of +2 to strength and +1 to constitution. He's also a barbarian, which allows him to select 2 other skills to become proficient in that are listed underneath his class. We'll make him focused on intimidation and perception. This means that under the skills area in our character sheet, we add a level 1 proficiency bonus of +2 to those particular skills. We'll also be giving Zugzug the Outlander background, giving him proficiency in both athletics and survival. Now we have a final picture of Zugzug's abilities and skills, so it's time to move on to saving throws and attacks. A saving throw represents your character's attempt to resist or escape a hostile effect. For example, if an enemy wizard casts Fireball at you, you would be required to make a dexterity saving throw to see if you could avoid taking full damage. Another example would be if you were bit by a poisonous creature and you have to make a constitution saving throw to see if you could resist the effects of the poison. Most saving throws you'll be making in combat. However, there are times when traveling or doing some other activity where your dungeon master may call for you to make a saving throw instead of an ability check, so always be on the lookout for that. Saving throw proficiencies can come from your race and class. The Barbarian class has saving throw proficiencies in both Constitution and Strength, so we can add that here in the saving throws section of Zugzug's character sheet. In general, here's how an attack roll works. Whenever you attempt to hit a target with a melee or ranged attack, you roll a d20. This is an attack roll. After rolling that d20, you then add your proficiency modifier and the ability modifier that is used for that attack. Now, does that clear things up? No? Well, let's drag Zugzug back in here one more time. In the middle section of your 5e character sheet, you'll see a section called Attacks and Spellcasting. As you can see here, I'm currently keeping my Great Axe housed in this section in order for me to access it more fluently whenever I'm going to attack something. My Great Axe has a +6 to hit, and it has a damage amount of 1d12 plus 4. So how do we get those numbers? I'm using a program called Roll20, so it does a lot of the math and things like that for me. However, I'll show you the breakdown on how you can do this for pen and paper as well. My Strength modifier adds with my proficiency bonus, as we talked about at the beginning of the video. This allows me to get that +6 number. So whenever I roll a d20, I will then add that +6 to the number rolled, and that's the amount I've rolled to hit something. That number gets compared to an enemy creature's armor class. For example, if we are fighting an enemy that has a 15 armor class, and we roll a d20, we would then add +6 to whatever number we rolled. In this case, we rolled a 15, so +6 is 21. We would then calculate our damage. Now with the Great Axe, we have a d12 plus 4, because we add our Strength modifier to the damage dealt. I add my Strength modifier to my weapon because it is a heavy weapon and it's two-handed. I'm a strength-based fighting class. However, if you are like Ranger or Rogue, you would be adding your Dexterity modifier to your weapon's damage and to your weapon's bonus to hit. So if I was using Dexterity in my case, I would only have a bonus of +1 to hit on top of whatever it is I rolled, and my proficiency, and a bonus of +1 in damage. So my damage would be significantly reduced using something like a rapier using Dexterity as opposed to using Strength for my class. And now we have a complete idea about Zugzug's abilities, skills, saving throws, and attack rolls. I hope this gives you a better general concept on how to build your character. This is a very nuanced topic, and there's several other smaller subtopics we could certainly branch this conversation into, but then that would make this video run much longer than intended. That said, if you found this video helpful or enjoyable, then please go ahead and drop a like down below, and please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. I also want to give a big shout out to my patrons over on Patreon, whose generosity and encouragement has made this video possible. If you enjoy the work I do here on YouTube, or enjoy battle maps or tabletop role-playing games online, then please consider becoming a patron by following the link in the description below. And until next time, friends, take care.